All right. Good morning, y'all. Welcome to episode 1 of Get Buck. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and this is my co-host, Jackson. What's going on, Jackson? Good morning.
Morning, man. Happy to be here with you. Ready to talk some Del Mar racing. Let's do it.
Absolutely. We're going to go through the late pick 5 on Del Mar Sunday, week before Pacific Classic Day, which has to have all the anticipation in the world being out on the West Coast. Are you going to be at Del Mar for next weekend for the big event?
Yeah, for sure. On Saturday, for sure. Don't know about the rest of the weekend, but always try to get down there for the Pacific Classic.
Saturday's the day you got to be there for sure.
Yeah.
So happy to have you out. I'll look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a great day. We have an on-site handicapping contest that I think has a final play-in tournament today. I don't know that I'll be entering into that, but I'll certainly be, throwing some pick fives out as we get closer to the card. So I'm looking forward to it. But for right now, we're going to focus on this Sunday, the August 25th, the Sunday late pick 5 at Del Mar. We have a good little sequence. It should be pretty competitive. There is one single that I think you and I both have on the card. We won't say which race, but we'll get there as we get there. Going into race 5, let me just throw the PPs up here. Going into race 5, our picks are now on the bottom ticker. Both of us actually with the same top pick, the number 3 Double Jab. What attracted you to this horse?
Yeah, so at this point in the meet, we're seeing a lot of horses that are running back for the second time, right? And I'm going to talk about hit this point over and over and over again in the sequence. I love betting turf horses back that had wide trips last time, especially in these 5 furlong sprints when the margin for error is so slim. You get these blanket finishes, and this horse was 4 or 5 wide the entire turn. Ran against a pretty solid field. It showed a lot of speed, but he just had no chance. He didn't get any cover. And he actually ran okay. That was his first start in over 8 months, I think. So, since December. So, plenty of room to move forward for this guy. Andy Mathis does a great job down here. He brings a lot of horses that he knows can win at Del Mar. That's what he aims for in the summer. And he should get there's not a ton of speed in it, I didn't think. He should get a really good trip either on the lead or tucked right behind it and get that rail trip and hope it opens up for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great analysis of the trip there. He was definitely parked wide. Only other note I have here that made me kind of land his way. You kind of see it says fractious in the notes. When he was walking down to the track, I was over by the horse walk, and I can't really tell, one horse from the other in most cases, unless I'm looking at like Sierra Leone or Flightline.
Yeah.
But this horse walking to the track just looked out of sorts, just didn't look like he was focused, was kind of washy. Just didn't look like it was his day. Again, he came off a pretty long, extensive layoff there, and then, fired a decent shot for being parked wide that entire trip. So I'm definitely willing to forgive that effort and get him back second off the layoff, which is always, a good angle to go. And then he's in the 3 hole, so he should project to sit a much better trip this time around. And then he has 2 buyers at Del Mar, the 83 and the 86, 3 and 4 back respectively, that, if not winning here, make him definitely a serious threat for a top 2.
I didn't even see that stat right there. 35% off of second off a layout. That's a high ROI. That's pretty good for Andy Mathis right there. So just another reason to include this guy. And I think he's made a pretty decent price. I think he'll be like 5 to 1.
He should be. Yeah, we don't have the morning lines yet. We don't have the post positions. I was actually on the backside yesterday. They were drawing this entire card. So I was listening to all this, and then here we are. All right, my second choice is the number 1, and that horse is Zip Ohm. I love this horse's debut earlier in the meet. As you mentioned, we're kind of at that point where everybody's running back. This horse is running, just ran 2 weeks ago. Had a pretty good trip, even though he was parked, or even though he drew the 8 hole. Carla Gaines, pretty strong with these maiden winners next out in turf sprints. I have, 18%, 3 for 17 for maiden winners last time out, going on in strictly turf sprints. So sticking with this kind of stat. He's faced older in that maiden race, even as a 3-year-old. So that just kind of gives me some confidence that he's, grown up enough where he can handle this, because he is going to face a few older horses in here. So I think the rail draw could be useful for him. A similar trip where he's just going to kind of sit that pocket, and Freysu hopefully tips him out and powers home. And I see you have him third as well.
I have him third, and just mostly because of the price. He's clearly going to be the one to beat. I'm anticipating he's going to be bet pretty heavy based on that performance, because even though he beat a pretty weak field, he did it the right way. I mean, he smoked those horses. It wasn't close, and he was parked 3 wide the whole way. They just kept him in the clear, and he dominated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime you see those turf sprints, those are normally, decided by a length or less. Anytime you see a horse dominate by, 3.25 lengths like he did, that's just it's a sign that there's some real ability there. So
Yeah.
I think playing him back is definitely going to be, a strong play. You're not going to get a great price, which is why I think we both kind of landed on double jab. That kind of is the logical alternative, and we might get a decent price depending on how hard that horse gets hammered.
Yeah.
Talking about Zip Ohm. I want to talk about your second choice, or turn it over to you. Impeach a lot for Brian Coroner.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as like horizontals go, I'm going to lean pretty heavy on that 3 horse. I think this 10 horse Impeach a lot is going to be more of a deep backup, I would say. But coming out of the same race as Double Jab and had a similar trip. I mean, was parked wide the entire way, broke through the gate before the race, which typically those horses don't run too well. And this is going to be his third start off the bench. So if they do fly early, this is going to be the one that I think can be flying down the lane late. He already has a win over the track at Del Mar. And if you don't want to use him as a deep backup, he's got a really good chance to fill out those verticals. So this is one I'm looking at a price who can come in.
Absolutely. I like that. Ayuso, the jockey, has been riding the turf excellent this summer. I think he has a stakes one on the turf. I know he has one on the dirt. I want to say he has a stakes one on the turf. I might be mistaken there. First horse that I kind of took off was the 11, just right underneath, was Supernal. I liked his turf debut earlier on. I'm happy that I, have the job at Del Mar, so I'm able to watch most of the races.
Right.
So I'm able to kind of, it helps my memory a little bit, because memorizing horses just based off name and watching replays is a little tough. But being there to watch, I can kind of remember. But, Little Red Feather, the ownership group, has been having a fantastic meet. Obviously, Juan Hernandez and D'Amato on the turf, and you're probably going to get a decent price, because
pretty good duo right there.
Pretty good duo. And then, 4 wins for this horse is, I believe, the most in the field. Looking through it again. Yeah, 4 wins going to be the most in the field. So this horse knows how to find the wire, knows how to win. This is an optional claimer 20, non-winners of one other than. And he's managed to be eligible for this spot with 4 wins. So that's something that, you always have to pay attention to when a horse knows where the wire is and how to win. Given all those wins have come on synthetic, or all but one, excuse me, have come on synthetic. So you got to, make sure he transfers that form to turf. But I think second, with the new trainer, Phil D'Amato, turf sprint, Juan Hernandez, it's just going to could be a good setup. And, you got to watch the board. Could be one of those overlays, or it could be the Juan Hernandez effect where it's an underlay.
Yeah, especially from the 11 post, you might get a better price than you probably should be. And
absolutely.
You don't want anyone else to work out a trip from that post than JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Umberto, but JJ and Hernandez are kind of 1-2 in there. Yeah. Whatever way you want to put them.
Real quick, only other I want to mention real quick was I believe it's the 5 belly up. Maybe the 6, maybe the 7. I don't know. One of those horses. Belly up is the horse.
I have the 7. Yes.
Okay. I loved him last time. He was 30-1, and he got second by a neck. And the only reason I didn't use him today is because he's going to be, 5-1. And it feels like last time was the time. And he's got a good chance if he runs back to that race. So that's another
definitely. That's a like miss the wedding horse, but certainly has a fig that's going to match here. My note for that was the speed figures fit. I'm not using this horse. I have a personal Mario Gutierrez cost me last Sunday on a ride on that on whatever that horse was, Ship and Scam. So he is not. I need him to start finishing off races, and he can beat me a few times, and then I'll start using him again, because I know he's capable of doing that.
Right,
but
2-time Derby winner.
I mean, I know 2-time Derby winner. Definitely has the talent. He hasn't been as aggressive as I wanted him to be, and he has been in the past. So once he can kind of get back to that form, I'll start using him again. But for right now, especially at the 5-1, if he was that huge price again, that's absolutely a must use. But anywhere close to under 10-1, I'm not sure that I want to kind of risk it on that one at this point. All right, now moving on to race 6. Let me throw our picks up there. We both again landed on the number 4 for our top pick. We're in lockstep so far. That's got to be a good price. I wonder if we saw this one the same way. Did you also just think kind of a toss the last race and then those other two fit?
Absolutely. And it's also was more of a case of everyone's coming out of the same two races except for two horses. And I didn't love either of those two races. They were pretty bad. And like you said, the two races before that were pretty good, were really good actually. And then she was 11-1 against open optional claimers, where Hope Road was probably 2-5 in that race. She took some, so she took some serious money. She's probably a third or fourth choice, and this is significantly easier spot. I mean, for most connections, I'd be a little worried about this kind of drop, but it's Doug O'Neill. He wants to win at Del Mar, and he'll put them where he thinks they're going to be very big contenders. Most years, I'd be a little worried about this post and with all this speed in the race, but the inside has been good the entire meet, so I don't have a problem with it. I'm guessing the jock's going to send her out of there and just try to go all the way.
Absolutely, that's my thought too. That what is it? Escobedo is on board. Yeah, he's got to just send for the lead. When you look at those two races, 2 and 3 back with the 76 buyer, you get this horse on the lead. He looks like he kind of gets brave, gets comfortable, gets a little bit fearless, and just will power home. Again, not sure that he's going to be able to completely clear all of that other speed that's on his outside. Talking about just Perfect and Gray, just right outside of him, has some good speed. There's more horses in this field with a lot of speed, but I think if the jockey sends out with some real intention to get the lead, he's capable of getting the lead with this horse, and then hopefully just not looking back, and that'd be a good win. Because I think just toss the last. Going in first time for a tag for Doug O'Neill is definitely a strong ROI, strong record, especially at Del Mar. That is where a lot of these trainers are pointing to win for most of the meet. So, I think we're pretty much good in lockstep there. My second choice in this race, we both went to the outside for a lot of these. I went to the number 10, We'll Do It Live. Oh, missed it. Sorry. I went to the number 10, We'll Do It Live. I think with all that abundance of pace, I know this horse hasn't shown a affinity for passing horses. So I'm hoping, Kyle Frey can just kind of send him out of there, maybe sit off the hip of the 4, and then be able to kind of take over down the lane if he's able to, wear down the 4 a little bit. Because again, speed's been great all meet. You don't really see them coming from way, way out of it on the dirt. So I'm hoping, 10 can kind of sit a good trip. That's, again, We'll Do It Live. He improved first off the claim for the trainer, Steve Knapp, who's having a really good meet, and he's placed his horses pretty well. He's gotten about 16 horses in the money just as of right now. So he's placing them well, and he's running them where they, deserve to be. So for that reason, I landed on We'll Do It Live. Yeah,
and like you said, Frey's been hitting his horses in the right spot every single race. I mean, he's riding really great. I know he's only at 12% right now, but he's riding mostly, the 6 or 7 choices right in these races, and they're all out running their odds. So
absolutely. And Wayne, I'm not sure if you saw last Sunday, Wayne the Brain beating Miramati. That ride he gave that horse was exactly the ride he needed to, because he put pressure. I mean, given on the inside, put pressure on Miramati, give him any sort of challenge, and as that horse is done, just kind of quit as soon as he got to the top.
He knew that horse wouldn't pass anyone, so he was just make the lead at all costs, and then
he was riding like a quarter horse the first quarter of a mile, and just made sure he got the lead, and that was exactly what needed to happen. Because you can't. Miramati doesn't want to pass horses. He doesn't want to finish off those races, so he made sure not to give him an easy time.
That horse earned a lot of money,
including the people who bought him. He was an expensive horse, but I'm sure he'll find his friends one day. But
I feel like at this point they got to just run him in these stakes races, because he gets second no matter what. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's not he's not fading to last. He just doesn't want to be number 1. Yeah. So he's was it Bodemeister or Bodie Express who finished second in almost every race?
It was Bodemeister.
Got
second. I'll have another in the Derby and the Preakness, and ran huge both times.
Moving on to your second pick, the number 11, Beau Soleil.
Yeah, that works for me. I liked her a lot last time, and she did no running whatsoever. But to be honest, 90% of that field didn't. It was just a weird race where no one really did anything. So I guess I'm just going to be willing to toss it. She should be a pretty good price this time. I love that she's done well at Del Mar. I love that they're switching Maldonado, who, again, good gate jockey. Blinkers are going on. They're going to be a lot closer today. They're going to be stalking the pace 3 or 4 wide. And in these cheap claimers, I love horses that are going to be in the clear the whole time. They're not going to have any trouble. They're not going to have to get in traffic. They're not going to have to re-rally. They're just going to go. And they're good enough. They're good enough. We're going to see what happens. A little bit of backlash earlier, like last fall and early this winter. Yeah, she's got a good chance, I think. She should be a good price. And then to the far outside, number 12, Princess Olivia. There's another horse coming out of the other race they're all coming out of, and she was by far the best horse in that race. I didn't think it was a very good field, but it says 5 and 4 deep. She might have been even further outside than that the entire turn, and she won really comfortably in the end. Now she's claimed by Miller. Gutierrez picks up the mount. Gutierrez having a really solid first meet here at Del Mar. I hope he stays here year round from now on. He's great. I love him. And she get the exact same trip as last time. Just, again, stalking the pace, while wide. Maybe the track profile finally switches the outside. It usually does every summer. It hasn't this far, but maybe this is the day. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I have Princess Olivia as I think one of my first off. I think that was my fourth choice after the 8 here, who I'll talk about in just a second. Touch on Beau Soleil, you're going to get a great price. Maldonado and Hess is one of those sneaky combinations that teams up a lot for some really good wins and some really good prices. This horse does have 3 in the money, 1 win, 2 second at Del Mar. The blinkers on angle, dropping a little bit in class from the 40 claimer down to the 25, second off the layoff. There are a lot of angles to like here. You can see kind of down on that bottom row, the trainer stats. Bob Hess is 21% with a 217 ROI, second off the bench. Blinkers on 24%. I think those are both really strong numbers that are really smart plays. And again, as you mentioned, the outside, he's going to be in the clear. These low-level claimers, they don't really like the trouble. They don't like all that dirt in their face most of the time. I think that's really going to set up nicely. And then to move on to number 8 real quick before we keep it moving, that is Cheeky Gal for Peter Miller, the other Peter Miller, if you will. This one's coming off a pretty long layoff, 180 plus days, where Peter Miller is 23%. Blinkers off. Peter doesn't have the best stats, only 8% with a 53% or 53 cent rather ROI. However, I do like Peter Miller coming off these long layoffs. Gary Barber, the owner, part of the ownership group here, does point to win at Del Mar. That's one of his, main kind of focuses there. And then anytime you see Peter Miller just plummeting down the class ladder, you kind of know that he's putting that horse in a spot to win. Peter Miller loves to go to the winner's circle. He's not afraid of playing this claiming game. He's an aggressive trainer when he wants to win. So I think that kind of it just kind of was a read between the lines sort of thing, in addition to the class drop, which is obviously huge. I think you could look at it where, going from optional 100 where he's not for sale, plummeting down to an open claim 25 where he is for sale after running in the grade 1 Del Mar Derby as a 2-year-old. I think, you can look at that different ways. I just look at it as Peter Miller's just pointing this horse to win. He hasn't shown a whole lot of promise in those races, and maybe this is just where he belongs and he's with his friends.
Yeah, I couldn't quite pull the trigger. I mean, like you said, this horse won a maiden race at Del Mar last summer as a 2-year-old, and then ran in the Del Mar debutante at the grade 1. Didn't do great, but then came back at Del Mar again and ran a really good second to Julia's Dream, who's a pretty quick sprinter. And then now she's showing up here. It's just I don't want the pattern. But again, if she shows up with anything close to those races she ran last year, she'll be really tough. This is just too big of a drop for me.
Yeah, it is. It is a massive plummet down the class ladder. It's a step off a cliff for sure. So I'm hoping maybe the drop just wakes her up.
Yeah.
Moving on to race number 7 here. Let me throw our picks up again down here. I think we're finally at a lockstep. Yes, I have the 3 as my top choice. You have the number 9. We'll start with number 9 because I think that horse is a little interesting. So I'd love to hear your take on it. That's Midnight Joestar. What kind of attracted you to this horse?
Yeah. So again, we're going to talk about this again. This was a turf horse who was wide every step of the way last time. And that was going 3 turns. 3 turns, he was 4 wide the entire time. And it was a pretty slow pace as to be expected for those mile 3/8 races. And they finally picked it up around the final turn. And as soon as he made his move to go to the outside and they turned into a sprint from him, that's when he was parked the widest. So that's an angle I like. Yeah. It's an angle I like a lot when they're wide and the fastest part of the race. And like you can see right here, he made a move from he was last, went all the way up to fourth, was challenging for the lead, and then just kind of flattened out a little bit. I don't love this cutback to 9 furlongs, but if he can get a little more cover today, I think he's got a really good chance. And he is dropping. This is a big drop again. Optional claimers to non-winners, 32,000 of a race this year. So big drop in class. There should be enough speed in here. It was a wide open race, and he should be a decent price, I think, especially with Diego Herrera taking the call again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are great points. He was definitely wide the entire trip. Something that kind of made me, because I did give this horse a pretty close look. I watched the replays on his last couple. Two back, he lost the whip coming down the stretch. So that kind of took that late punch out with Herrera riding. Something that kind of turned me off to this horse was the fact that Kent wasn't on board. Normally DeSormo and Serin, team up for some of these turf routes.
Yeah.
And he's been a rider before. Obviously, Herrera does look like the regular rider now. Excuse me, they teamed up when DeSormo and Phil D'Amato was the trainee. But
this guy. I was in Vegas for the NHC, and that was the last race of the last chance, first chance, and this horse beat that day for the NHC. So we've been chasing him ever since. Today is the day.
Today might just be the day. But yeah, I like to, pay attention to where some of these jockeys go, just because, DeSormo and Serin have teamed up for some good prices. And I know they like to use each other. Herrera and Serin has become a pretty, normal, usual combo that you see now. I was just kind of hoping to see Kent on board because I think he just gives this horse, I don't know, maybe a slight better chance to win. And
I agree.
Yeah, but no knocking that horse, because this could definitely be the time. Has run really respectable races against a lot tougher, and now drops in for the tag. So this could very well be the spot for him.
Yeah, for like the win bet, this is a horse where if he's 2-1, I'm not going to be betting him. But if he's 6-1, then yeah, because again, Diego Herrera on the turf, he likes parking his horses wide, which isn't usually the winning formula. But if he's going to be a decent price, I'm willing to overlook that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the game's all about. Yeah. I landed on number 3. That's a handy dandy. Bob Hess, Juan Hernandez aboard. What kind of just attracted me to this horse was it's going back to Bob Hess. Was trained by Michael Ewing for a race. Not really sure what that was all about. But back to Bob Hess, back at Del Mar, where he has 3 wins, 2 seconds out of 8 starts. His form's just kind of muddied up, so I'm hoping maybe I get a little bit of a price there. He's dropping down pretty significantly in price. Last time he was up for the tag for $80,000. His last turf race. He wasn't up for the tag in that last dirt race that you see at Indiana Grand. So he's been up for the tag a couple times in his career, but now is a significant drop. So I'm hoping that drop wakes him up. Mixed with getting back to turf, which is clearly the surface that he prefers. And then, back at Del Mar, where it's a big horse for course angle, just kind of all around. So I'm hoping all those things kind of add up to, getting in the winner's circle. I'm not sure that we'll get a huge price, knowing that he's going to take Juan Hernandez money, which is almost the equivalent of like IRAD money in New York, just because, between Juan and Rispoli, they're both the 2 best jockeys out here, so they take just a lot of money just based on their mounts.
They win lots of races.
Yep, they do win lots of races. So, but yeah, I think Handy Dandy's got a real shot here. So hopefully, just getting back to the surface that he prefers. I think you and I both we do. I have Sydney Street 3rd, and you have Sydney Street 2nd. For John Sadler, Hector Barrios has been riding the turf just lights out. This meet has been excellent. What kind of attracted you to this horse?
Yeah, it looks like we have the same 2 horses underneath. We'll start with the 4 Sydney Street, and he just looks pretty logical. The one time he raced in a claiming race, he won, and he beat Flavius, who this winter was a really good claiming horse. He won a lot. He won several races at San Anita. I remember that, and he beat that horse on the square. And I know he's coming off a layoff, but he comes off a layoff pretty much every time he runs, so that's not a concern of mine. And like you said, Hector Barrios, he wins a lot of these races. He'll just hug the rail the entire way until it's time to move off the rail in the stretch, and we'll see if he's good enough. Big class drop. He's got a good chance. Figures that fit. So
Absolutely. Another big angle that I like here is anytime Sadler drops in for the tag, you just have to watch out. He doesn't really drop in unless he knows his horse is going to fit there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see the last time he was up for sale, Hector Barrios was aboard. It was at Del Mar. It was going a mile. This is a mile and an eighth, but he wins. He wins by a nose. Again, you mentioned beat Flavius. So yeah, I think just anytime you see Sadler drop in for a tag, you definitely have to keep your eyes peeled on that one because there's definitely some intention there. He's not.
And
really
again,
just
connections
dropping.
that like winning at Del Mar, Ronnis Racing, they love to be in the winner's circle at Del Mar.
They do love to be in the winner's circle at Del Mar.
Yeah.
Which again, these angles do definitely matter because some of these owners really just only point for Del Mar, with that being the kind of marquee meet of the summer. Going to the other horse that you and I landed on underneath, second and third respectively, is Hurricane Cloud, the Baltus trained horse with Umberto Rispoli aboard. The breeding here is off the charts. Frankel out of an Indian Rocket mare. So obviously bred to love this turf. Is 0 for 2 at Del Mar. But I think maybe just the stretch out's going to be a little better for this horse. Something that also made me kind of, perk my ears up to this horse, if you will, was the fact that Baltus is running this horse for the waiver off the layoff. So this horse is not for sale. I believe it's a layoff more than 4 months. You're able to run a horse, not for a tag if it's in a claiming race. Correct me if I'm wrong on that timeline, if you know.
Not sure, but that sounds right.
Yeah, it's something like 4 months. I want to say. So running, in a protected spot in a claiming race is definitely interesting because it's almost like a little like kind of cheat code where you're able to find your friends, but you get to protect and keep your horse for a race. So yeah, that just kind of made me land on this horse. What kind of attracted you to it?
Just like you said, it's Rispoli, it's Baltus. They're in for the waiver tag, and they're getting a free Shire, and they found a field that looks pretty beatable. So nothing wrong with this horse. I love the giant late pace figures of this horse has, and he's got some monster back numbers to run back to. So
absolutely, this horse promises to come flying down the stretch. This horse can close like a freight train. So it'll definitely be exciting. Who knows if he'll get up in time, but he will be closing. And yeah, running for that protected tag is definitely something to keep an eye on. Moving on to the Grade 3 Rancho Bernardo Stakes. I was hoping this race would be a little more competitive, but we have an absolute monster in here that's going to be fun to watch. That is Sweet Azteca. Let me throw our picks up. We both obviously landed on the number 5. That's Sweet Azteca. Flavian Prat is leaving New York. He's leaving Saratoga, where he's having one of the best meets of anybody out there. I think he's second or third in the jockey standings right now. He's got like 12 stakes wins, and he's flying out here to ride Sweet Azteca. If that doesn't show you that he is planning on riding this horse in the Breeders' Cup Sprint when it comes to Del Mar, I'm not sure what will. I think that's why he's out here. He has one other mount on the card. It's the first race, and he's riding a maiden for McCarthy, the same trainer here. But I think this definitely shows the intention of Flavian Prat. So Sweet Azteca, I'm not sure what more you want to add here. But yeah, take it away.
Yeah, Pratt is leaving Saratoga in the midst of he's got a really good chance to win the title, and he's going out of his way to leave on a Sunday with 12 races on the card to come over here and ride this one horse. She's not going to lose. Look at those figures. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but look, it's horse racing. But if she runs 70% of those last 2 races, she's going to win. So yeah, this is a pick 4 single. Move on.
Yeah. This is a free square. I mean, again, the race still has to be run.
Yeah,
but you're not. There's no other proven class in here. This horse beat Adair Manor 2 back, and that horse. I tried everything I could to beat that horse in the Clement Hirsch, and everything that anybody drew up for how that horse could lose. That's how the race played out, and that horse just beat him.
And she beat her at her game too.
Yeah.
Good race.
Yeah, beat her at her game. Yeah, Sweet Azteca went to the lead, beat Adair Manor at her own game. There's not many knocks against this horse. It could run, or she could run any of the last 3 races at about like 70%, and she's going to be real tough in here. I will talk about the horses that we used underneath, though. We both had the one, so we'll start there. That's Tom's Regret. I don't know. Again, it's a free square, but use it underneath. Maybe you can spice up the exotics or something. One of these horses might get a good overlay between the 1, the 2, and the 7, which the 3 of us have used underneath. So maybe that's, a spiced up vertical play. But yeah, Tom's Regret has definitely not disgraced himself in any stakes competition. Knows how to find the winner's circle, knows how to win, and definitely fights. 12 starts, has been in the money in all 12 starts, $373,000 earner. Obviously has gone only really against, listed stakes competition. And has the one grade 3 attempt actually on the turf at Santa Anita and the Senorita. Just not up to the class of Sweet Azteca, but a decent horse and should definitely run his race.
Yeah.
Or run her race, excuse me.
Correct. I sent you these picks last night, and I've since changed my mind about how I want to play this race underneath. I'm going to toss her completely, Tom's Regret, just on the idea that, again, Kyle Frey is really aggressive. He knows his only chance in the entire world, as slim as it may be, is to steal this race on the lead. And I don't think she can keep up with Sweet Azteca. She's gonna go too fast, and I'm hoping she just spits the bit top of the stretch and finishes up the track.
Yeah.
So as far as the verticals in this race, I'm gonna play the 5 on top with the 7 horse, who is Anywho. And Anywho is a horse I've been following since last spring, I believe. She ran a really good race at Santa Anita against some pretty good allowance foes. Coffee and Bed is a stakes horse, Get the Money is really solid turf horse nowadays. And she hasn't quite been able to live up to that billing since. I know she had that monster race at Churchill Downs this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened last time. I really liked her that day. I guess she had a bad start and never ran after that. I am a little concerned. She needs Lasix. I mean, look at the races with Lasix and look at the races without Lasix. There's a pretty significant difference there. But if she does happen to run a race, I think she's gonna have a really good chance to get second here. So I'm gonna key her second with the 2 horse who you're gonna talk about, I believe.
Yeah. No, I do like the form of Anywho. Your Lasix point is a good one. There is definitely a pretty big, difference in performance on and off Lasix, but who knows? Maybe she'll buck that trend this race. Don't know until you run the race, but yeah. Chismosa, I believe is how it's pronounced. My angle loves Del Mar. 3 wins in a second at Del Mar. Can close from off the pace. And your point with Tom's Regret, I do think that Kyle Frey is just going to send like a rocket out of the 1 hole, try and take it to Sweet Azteca early. I think Sweet Azteca is just going to jog, but I think that that's going to set up that pace for a closer. And I think Kismos is probably the best closer, at least the most proven closer in the race. Has that really good 92 Beyer speed figure 2 back at Santa Anita in the Desert Storm. And I think, anything close to kind of that effort is going to be substantial here. You see in the Great Lady M, did finish 7th by a distance to Sweet Azteca. I think that race just didn't really set up for her. Speed kind of held on pretty well, if I remember correctly in that race. Obviously, besides Sweet Azteca, Speed just held on pretty well. Los Alamitos is a funky track, with that stretch being about 6 miles long.
Yeah,
so
might be longer than that.
Yeah, right. They're running forever on that stretch. So I think just getting back to Del Mar, which again, proven form and does definitely run her best races here. I think that's going to set up well for her. You see, in February of this year, ran the Santa Monica, which is the grade 2, ran second to 3 Witches. 3 Witches is an awesome horse. I haven't seen her run in a while, if I remember correctly, but hopefully she's still in training and she'll come back because she was a really good horse last year. So Kismosa definitely has some back class to look to, definitely has the ability, and then has that closing kick on dirt, which I think could be important to fill out, any exotics here.
Yeah, and if you're a crazy believer, she does have a win over Sweet Azteca way back in January. Gave her only loss. I think Sweet Azteca is a little bit better now than she was back then, but she did beat her. So there's that.
And that was this year. That was only about 8 months ago. So no, that's a very good point. Like has the ability to beat this horse. Again, probably wasn't. They weren't up to the same form as Sweet Azteca is now, but you make a great point that has beat her.
Yeah. And again, for verticals, you have the dollar trifecta in here, which makes it a little more playable, I think. So it's just, for me, it's going to be the 5 on top with the 7 over Chismosa, and the 6. I can't think of the name right now, but a horse
6
that,
should be Irish Wahini.
yeah. So 5 over 7 over 2 and 6. Irish Wahini had no business being on the turf last time. Was in really good form before that. Another horse that had a weird trip in the Great Lady M and just didn't do any running, and she can come running late for that 3rd spot too. So
yeah, absolutely. The Sweet Lady M stakes, that was, I almost toss everybody else's info at that. Like it was a paid workout for Sweet Azteca. It was nothing. There was no competition for her in there. Nobody was going to run well because they all just got blown out of the water. Like it was just one of those. I think I did try.
One of the favorites in the Philly Mare Sprint right now with Vava, I would think.
She has to be. Her and Vava, that square off is going to be phenomenal. With Sweet Azteca having the home field advantage, and then Vava just, I can't wait to see her run tomorrow. And who knows, maybe we'll get a new leader in the sprint division after tomorrow's races at Saratoga. It's going to be a fun season. There are a lot of really cool races. I do want to do a Breeders' Cup kind of preview at some point, because I think that would be really cool with the amount of depth that's kind of emerging in these divisions, which is always great to see.
And it's at Del Mar this year, so can't complain.
It is. This year and next year. It's a treat. Moving on to the nightcap, race number 9. We used the same horse in second, but we differed. Oh, no. Well, no. We had similar picks here. I went with the number 8. And that is Quality Wins. So let me find Quality Wins here. It's impossible without these post numbers. So Quality Wins, I think the speed figures fit. I think just needed a little bit of a stretch out. I mean, Quality Road out of Tappet. The breeding there just obviously screams run longer. Can clearly handle the turf. Maybe would be better on dirt. I don't know really why this horse has only had one effort on dirt, and it was the debut against Corniche, who was the 2-year-old champion. But I think this horse has really respectable numbers on dirt, seems to be improving. I know he's a 5-year-old, but his numbers this year have been some of the best in his career. I think stretching out another furlong, you see the split times at 22 and 46, and is closing into those times, or into those fractions rather, a little bit. So I think the stretch out of the extra furlong, going to the 1 1/8, I think that's going to be helpful for this horse. I think dropping into maiden claimers again, you see 2 and 3 back, was second by a neck and by 2.5 lengths. Lost to Uncle Reg. Uncle Reg is a decent horse right now, running in some like optional claimer type races. And yeah, I just think this drop is going to suit her. Mark Glatz had a great meet. Kyle Frey, as we've talked about earlier, is riding phenomenal. And yeah, I think this horse could be a logical spot. This race is tough though. You should go pretty deep in this race because I think you are able to find a price.
Yeah, this is one of those races where I'm kind of sick of a lot of them, where they're just 0 for 8, 0 for 10, 0 for 12. Which is like, all right, okay. And with that being said, I think I'm taking a horse that's 0 for 5. Okay, not too bad. Nuclear. This horse was. I remember when he was a 2-year-old, there's a lot of buzz about this saddle horse. It cost $1.5 million. And then they debuted him on turf. He didn't really do anything. Came back on turf again, didn't really do anything. And now he's running and claiming races. So clearly he just hasn't lived up to that billing. But I thought the last race was pretty solid. Again, he was three wide the entire way around the track while stalking not flying, but it was a fair pace that day. And just couldn't quite get the job done. Was clearly second best. I mean, no one else in that field really did that much running. You can see he was almost 2 lengths clear of the 3rd spot. And I don't think there's a ton of speed in here. So he should get a pretty good stalking trip again. Hopefully he can get a little more cover this time, save some ground, and have every chance in the lane. I don't think the extra 16th of a mile is going to be a problem for this Justify horse.
All right. Yeah, I like that angle. I like the second off the layoff. Definitely ran a respectable race last time, leading the horse that won. That's a Michael McCarthy and Rapoli owned horse. Rapoli's had a lot of horses at this Del Mar meet, like much more than usual, which I think is worthy of noting. Maybe he's starting to bring more horses out here, which is good for the game. But
I want to say he sent 20 horses out here this year.
Nice. That's
about it. It's a lot.
It is pretty good. He's definitely trying to get into the West Coast, which is great. Great for racing. So, but anyway, back to back to the number 7, and the number 6 comes out of this race as well. Big Juanito. They both come out of the same race. They both kind of ran similar races. Big Juanito comes from a little farther out of it. But they drew posts 6 and 7 right next to each other. So I'll kind of just talk about them both. I had the 6 fourth and I have the 7 third. I just think they're both either use them one or you don't, or use them both or you don't use either. Is kind of how I looked at it. But yeah, I think the 7 would probably be the one that I would prefer. I feel like this horse, talking about Nuclear again, the $1.5 million purchase, maybe try him on dirt. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're almost running out of options, I know has the one dirt effort, but kind of dueled with another horse on the lead there for a moment, and then just kind of faded and walked. Lost to Normandy Landing, who's a decent horse for old Bob Baffert, I believe. So yeah, I don't know. Nuclear should be in with a decent shot. My second pick was the number 11. That's the old 9. Umberto Rispoli, Richard Baltas. I used this combo earlier. This is just kind of biggest drop in racing angle, going from maiden special weights down to maiden claimers. First start with the trainer for Baltas has been really strong. We're looking at about 21%. Maiden special weight to maiden claimer, he is 0 for 3, but I think it's a small enough sample size where I can kind of forgive that. The buyer figures fit. Umberto's obviously going to need to tuck down and save some ground, but if there's anybody I trust to kind of give a horse a good ride from the 11 post, it's going to be Umberto.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of just what drew me to him. And I see that you also used him second, so you had to see it a little similar to me.
Yeah, and beating dead horse here, but he didn't have cover at any point of that race. He was wide the entire way around the track and still ran a pretty respectable 5th. I mean, I think a lot of times when I'm looking at these PPs, I see the wide trip and I watch it, and horse was done at the top of the stretch, and it didn't matter if the horse was on the rail the entire time. He was never going to win that race. But that wasn't the case with the 09. He was there. He just had too much to do, and now he's, like you said, he's dropping in class. He gets Rispoli, brutal post, but if anyone can overcome it, it's him. And if anything, that's just going to help the price. So I think it's a little interesting that Baltas has taken over. I don't know what happened between then and that last race, but it doesn't hurt, I don't think.
I'm not sure either. But yeah, definitely interesting. But yeah, again, the breeding here, No Nay Never out of the Galileo Dam, definitely going to appreciate the turf. Hopefully gets a little bit of that length out of the Galileo, but yeah, both are kind of bred for turf. Fresu is a funny rider to me. He's obviously uber talented and he's great. Sometimes just watching him ride, a couple years ago, when he first came onto the circuit, he would, tuck in, save all the ground, and then he'd get caught in traffic. And the very next race, he's going to catch himself wide, so he makes sure to not get traffic. And then he's found a good middle ground. But for a while there, it was kind of fun just watching race by race. You kind of see how
he was making those quick adjustments, man. He was trying to see what would work. I like it. He was. I'd rather do that than just keep continuously being parked 5 wide every single time. Like, try something new.
Exactly. Yeah, and he does. He tries something new. He's a great rider. I love using Fresu. But that being said, I am happy Rispoli gets aboard here. I think he's just going to kind of fit well with this horse. Riding for Baltas, you see 20% at Del Mar. That's a $1.40 ROI. So they're normally bet pretty well and bet like they can win. We don't have the morning lines quite yet, but I can assure you the old 9's going to be under 3-1 by the time the gates break. I would imagine with that class drop, the connections, just Rispoli kind of feels like he's going to get bet. I do want to talk about your 1, or I want to have you talk about your 1. That is a Mysterious Husband, trained by Doug O'Neill, rider Kazushi Kimura. What did you see in this horse?
Yeah, this one's going to be more of a deep backup for me. Most of my money is going to be 7-11 here. But I do think the 1 Mysterious Husband, he's got a look. And I would, again, we don't have the morning line. I think he's going to be at least 12-1. I would imagine, maybe even higher. But I love those giant late pace figures he has there. 107, I think it's one of the highest in this field. Nothing wrong with the last race. This is going to be a second off a layoff, just his 3rd start overall. It cost a lot of money as a 2-year-old or yearling, I guess. And he just got to break a little better. I like the upgrade to Kimura. Kimura's riding the turf really well, especially. And yeah, I think he's got a good chance to come in the money. I definitely use him underneath. I don't know how heavy I would use him on top, but he can definitely fill out those trifectas.
Absolutely. Yeah, great points there. I think obviously you have the Doug O'Neill angle of first off the claim, 29% with a 284 ROI. That's fantastic. I think Doug O'Neill is only about 1 for 33 or maybe 2 for 34 on the turf at Del Mar so far
Yeah, I
this
did see
summer.
something like that. Yeah.
But I think that is one of those stats where water eventually is going to find its level. He's not a bad turf trainer. The photos just aren't going his way.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that you can definitely look over, and that's going to be something that kind of adds to the price of some of his horses. I think you also get a jockey upgrade going from Cedillo to Kimura. Nothing against Cedillo, but Kimura was one of the leading riders in Woodbine. In fact, that's where he's at today for King's Plate Day. I'm excited to watch that card. And yeah, it comes out of that same race, and you are definitely going to get a price. You have horses like we can talk about the two Caribbean King, who I mean has just been running in optional claimers and allowance races, either because the maiden races wouldn't fill, or they just wanted a higher price tag for the claiming, or whatever have you.
I think what happened is he ended up getting disqualified. He broke his maiden, and then there was some kind of
I see that
suspension or something. So now he has to go back. He's allowed to go back to the maiden ranks now. I don't know when
I see that.
I don't know exactly when that happened, but it looks like that's probably what happened here.
Yeah, good. Thank you for pointing that out. I must have overlooked that part. I saw disqualified, so I figured he was, bumped. There was some inquiry,
Right.
I didn't actually see the purse money. So yeah, that definitely something happened there where now he's back in the maiden ranks. That had to happen pretty recently though.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
really
going to take
like
some money in here. Sorry.
He's kept really good company, like you said. Those are some salty allowance races he's been running in. So this is definitely a drop in class.
Absolutely. You do have to, be a little concerned that he's technically a maiden, but 7 in the money with only the one win. So maybe doesn't really want to finish those horses. He'd kind of be a good underneath key for me using some of those prices on top.
Yeah.
I would assume Caribbean King's probably going to be your favorite in here. But going back to your point on the one, you're definitely going to get a good price. I could see all of our horses that we chose between the 7, 8, 11, probably all going to be better prices. The 6 Big Juanito is coming out of the same race as Nuclear and Mysterious Husband, Caribbean King. You're going to get a very, very solid price on this horse. And I think Kimura popped with a big price on a different trainer on the turf route earlier in the meet.
It was Callahan. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yes.
He was number 2.
Yep. Yeah. Number 2. Yeah. He blew my ticket up that day.
Yep. 100%.
Had about 6 horses, but did not have that one. So yeah. Simon Callahan is definitely the trainer I was thinking of. So I think this is a tough get out race, but I think you can definitely find a good price. I think I do want to ask you, when you play, sequences, obviously we just handicapped the late pick 5.
Right.
When you have a free square like that, do you play the 50-cent nomination of it? Or are you going to maybe play $1 and just press your other opinions to try and beat some favorites, knowing we're going to have a 1 to 9 in that Rancho Bernardo?
Yeah, this one I feel like I have enough stronger opinions in the other races where I can probably do it for $1. I don't think this is going to be a sequence where I'm really spreading super deep in any of the other races. And if my opinions are right, I'm going to be right a couple times. And if they're wrong, then I'm not spending a huge amount of money on the giant spreading ticket in this sequence. But it looks pretty approachable, I thought. I mean, you have the giant favorite, obviously, but I don't think there's going to be any massive long shots where you need to be spreading like crazy. You can key in on a couple other horses, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I don't know that the sequence necessarily looks chalky outside of the outside of Sweet Azteca. I think you can definitely get some second, third choices. So yeah, I think if we're able to make a ticket together, or make a ticket rather, and play it for $1, just press those opinions. I think you can get a decent payout out of this, and benefit from that free square for sure.
No, and even if you're getting these are some big fields, so even if it's all second, third, fourth choices, you can get close to close to 1,000, I would say, even with the 1 to 9 shot winning.
Definitely for $1.
Pay pretty well.
Yeah. Something I find as we kind of wrap up with all of our picks, something I find pretty, I don't know, funny maybe, is with how difficult Del Mar is to kind of piece together, winning sequences. There's only been 1 pick 6 carryover this entire meet, and that was opening day. Every other day has been a pick 6 is paid out to somebody. Or I guess, opening day Saturday, so the carryover went to Sunday, and then it paid out. But for there to only be 1 carryover, and for pick 6s are just I'm so happy they went back to the $1.
Yeah.
Because it makes it so much more fun to play. you really have to be right in your opinions. But yeah, just I guess it's been a kind of chalky, if there's no carryovers, clearly long
Yeah, but a
shots
lot
aren't
of people are
coming in a
saying
lot, but
there's been a lot of 5-figure, 6-figure
there
payouts too.
have,
It's not like there's
there have.
there's 1 or 2 horses paying out, and it just happens to keep paying out to those horses.
100%. It just keeps paying out. There was the one, a couple weeks ago where the late pick 5 paid almost 40K, and then there was one single ticket that hit the pick 6 for I want to say 260 or 290,000 which that's awesome. That's kind of what horse racing is all about. You kind of dream of those huge scores.
One of these days, man. Maybe
one of these days.
Maybe
Yeah,
Sunday.
maybe Sunday.
Someone has the winner of the 4th. Please let me know.
Maybe Sunday if we play like a $22 pick 6. So just have it 22 times. Maybe it'll pay that much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jackson, thanks so much for joining me this week. I hope to have you back next week and just keep this thing rolling because this is a lot of fun. I love that you're in Southern California too, so you had kind of call all these tracks home.
Yeah.
So I'd love to team up again, moving forward and keep this thing rolling because this is a lot of fun. You said you're a big fan of Woodbine as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So we got a great card starting probably pretty soon.
Early morning out here right now.
What's that?
We're gonna go ahead and head start in that right now. We're gonna play the first race. It's coming up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we got a great card at Saratoga, obviously Travers Day tomorrow. Just a great weekend of racing. And then next week I'll probably see you down at Del Mar for Pacific Classic Day, which I can't wait. That's the greatest day of racing for the summer at Del Mar.
Yep. I think there's 6 stakes races or something.
6 stakes. Some real good graded races. I'm excited for that. Excited to see everybody down there. And can't wait.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
Absolutely. Good luck out there. I'll see you next week, and we'll handicap another card.
Sounds good, man. Talk to you later.
Have a good one.